it seems like these videos that I am producing, that these videos are roughly in two different styles. The shorter videos, they are typically more precise. For the shorter videos, it is often the case that that some kind of subject comes to mind. And this subject then develops through the day, or sometimes a couple of days, until the subject is ready for a video. And then I sit down and then I talk about that specific subject. Those videos, they are usually shorter videos, 2 to 10 minutes or something like that. Then there is another style of videos, like this one, where I just sit down, turn on the camera, and wait, basically. Or perhaps wait is not the right word. I make myself available. That would be a better description. So I sit down and I make myself available for anything to show up. And I like doing both of these different styles of videos. The funny thing is that when I sit down like this video, and just turn on the camera, I have absolutely no idea what is going to happen, including this video. And then when I sit in stillness and make myself available, I just observe the mind. Observe the mind, how it tries to find something to grab onto. Something where the mind can feel secure or certain about what is going to happen. And it is interesting just to sit and observe how the mind can start getting anxious about what will happen. You see, the mind tries to, or perhaps I should say that In order to satisfy the mind, in order for the mind to feel secure, the mind wants to know the entire story. The mind wants to know exactly what I'm going to say, or what I am supposed to say. And the mind cannot understand that that is impossible. It is impossible to hold a complete picture in the mind of a speech that is more than a minute long or something like that. And then there is this other very funny funny thing about the mind. Because if the mind if the mind gets its will, and the mind is allowed to try and plan a complete speech, and then the mind tries to remember this speech. And then the mind thinks that this speech has to be exactly to the word of how it is planned, or else it is a complete failure. And then the mind gets scared again. So it is interesting just to sit and observe the mind. But one has to become still in order, or if it is to be possible to, if the mind is to be observed. Because if one is not just still, then it is the mind that is running the game. So just becoming completely still, observing, not visually observing, but putting the attention on the activity of the mind. Just watch it. That is extremely important. And that is basically what meditation is. Just sitting in stillness, observing. Observing the activity of the mind. And then suddenly there is an urge to open the mouth and start speaking. And then what is being talked about is no longer a product of the mind, but is rather just a flow, a download from somewhere. A download from a very quiet place. A loving place. And so the invitation is on these longer videos that although they do not have a, what to call it, a traditional format like guided meditations, they are actually meditations. And the invitation is that you treat them like meditations. And that you use these longer videos to come to rest in the same stillness. The same stillness from where these words are flowing. They are flowing from a wonderful, quiet and loving place. And that quiet and loving place is not something that is separate from you. So if you watch these longer videos where the tempo is slow and with a lot of stillness, if you watch these videos, you are listening from that same quiet and loving place. The conditioned mind cannot stand this slow pace. The conditioned mind gets confused when there are long passages of stillness. And you will experience that too. The only question is, do you remain still and just observe the mind? Just observe it. Observe its restlessness. If you remain still and just observe the mind and its restlessness, if you just stay in that observing space, what will happen is that we will move through the restlessness. We will transcend the restlessness. And just on the other side of that restlessness, and by the way, it does not have to be restlessness. It can also be any other kind of emotion that bubbles up to the surface in stillness. But we stay still, relaxed, observing the emotions. Don't do anything about them. Don't judge them. Just observe. On the other side of the emotion, and that is a very short distance. Just on the other side of these emotions, we find stillness, spaciousness, love. And we meet there, even though we are physically separated by thousands of kilometers or miles, we still meet in that space. Loving, relaxed space. That is really what the human being is longing for. In this extremely chaotic world that the mind has built, constructed. And there is nothing wrong about building stuff or constructing stuff. It has more to do with the impulse behind the building, behind the constructions. We could also call that the motivational force behind all doing. And that is why some wise man or wise woman, I cannot remember, once said that the human being has transformed itself into a human doing. And in that transformation, the connectedness with the being aspect has been lost. And that is felt like a deep longing or a sadness. As if something very essential is missing. And it is. It is missing the connection with being. So for us to re-establish connection with being, we have to shift our attention away from all the doing. That is why stillness and silence is of utmost importance. In silence and stillness, we are able to observe the conditioned mind, learn about what we have become. But again, don't do anything about it. Because if you try to do something about it, you will slip right back into the conditioned mind, and then it will start fight itself. We need to open up silent space within ourselves. And then from this silent space, right action will emerge. Patience is required. Patience is required. And also you have to be prepared that most people around you, they cannot understand why you are interested in silence or stillness. But don't judge them. It is just the mind, the conditioned mind. The conditioned mind in these people that feels challenged by you, by your interest in silence and stillness. The conditioned mind is afraid of silence and stillness. Because in silence and stillness, the conditioned mind will dissolve. So you have to be ready for other people's reactions. They will try to talk you out of it and back into the chaos. So once again, patience. Not only patience with yourself and your own mind, but also loving patience with your friends, with your family, with your colleagues, with other people in general. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. And it is true. That is one of the, what shall I call it, interesting aspects of awakening. That is that this human being it has the sensation, is that the right word? I don't know, I'll just use that word. The sensation that it has been living twice, or two different lives. A life prior to awakening and a life after awakening. And all the memories from the life prior to awakening is still here. So I can easily remember how it is to be lost within the mind. And I can easily remember all the actions that were taken at that time. I thought that I knew what I was doing, but I know now that I did not. And with that knowledge, I know when I look at other people, they know not what they do. Forgive them. They know not what they do. I think that will do it. Until next time, take care.